Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Successful Business Webinar Series brought to you each week by thecommunicationleader.com. Please grab a notebook and get ready to improve your chances of business success. While you're grabbing that notebook, make sure to grab a pen so you can write in the notebook. Make sure you grab some kind of beverage, adult or child beverage, whatever you prefer, and something you can sip on, maybe a little snack. Don't worry, I won't hear you crunching, so go ahead and eat your popcorn or your chocolate bar, whatever you want. Even order pizza, I won't even hear the doorbell ring. Okay. So make sure you have some calories, some sustenance with you, because you're going to need some brain power in this webinar, because I'm going to be teaching you some really cool stuff. So I am your host, Dr. Lawrence J. Clark. I host this series with my lovely wife, Kristen, and we are co-founders of thecommunicationleader.com, which is, by the way, today's sponsor. And what we do is we are your premier resource for promoting your products, your services, generating leads, and increasing profits by using powerful, profitable, and ethical persuasive communication strategies. And we do offer live and online training, such as what we're doing right now on a webinar. We have online courses that are recorded. By the way, if you're listening to this as a recording, you might be listening to one of our online courses, because often what we do is take our webinars and package them together as an online course if they are on related topics. We also do live seminars. We do keynote speeches for your trade association, your corporate event, your church, your nonprofit organization, your civic group, pretty much any group that needs a speaker. Give us a call and we will come and give you an interesting, fun, and informative talk. We also do group and individual coaching and consulting. So if you need some help with writing a story, or writing your webinars, writing the script for your webinars, getting your advertising scripts written, doing any kind of copywriting, which would be advertising type writing, such as newspaper, magazine, ads, website copy, anything like that. We can help you with that. And we also do consulting for companies, big and small. So I'll be giving you our contact information. In the meantime, it's pretty easy. Just go to thecommunicationleader.com. That's all one word, thecommunicationleader.com, and you can find out how to contact us either by email or by phone. Now, we have a lot of people here, and I love to have lots of people here from different industries and different locations in the country. So while I'm going on, if you could type that in, I often, if I'm doing a webinar myself, like I am tonight, I often don't take the time to actually go and look at those, but I love to go look at those later. Sometimes when Kristen is here and she's with me, she might read them out to me, or if she's doing the webinar, she does a lot of the trainings herself, and sometimes I'll read them out. Tonight we won't read them out loud on the webinar, but we do love to find out where you're from, where your region of the country or the world is, what industry you're in, because we have a lot of different industries represented, and we love to find that out, and that helps us. So typically people who are on our webinars are busy people, okay? We have insurance agents, bankers, realtors, financial advisors, all kinds of people in the arts, such as artists and authors and actors and public speakers, dancers, salespeople, all kinds of different business owners, again, retail stores, online business owners, attorneys, consultants, lots of different people. And we try to provide information that is helpful for all of you. So one of the things that we have in common, all of our businesses have in common. And believe it or not, even if you're an artist or a songwriter or something like that, you might not really consider yourself to be a business person, but you know what? You are, because we all have customers to serve and we all have money to make. And I try to keep these webinars down to about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. But during this time, I'm going to try and teach you some immediately actionable, extremely useful content that you can use in your business. And then also to give you a taste of what you could expect if sometime we were to partner together in the future, again, either through some live training for your company or organization, through a keynote speech, or what have you. So my promise to you is that this is going to be the best hour you have ever spent for your business. And if that sounds fair to you, just type, yeah, baby. I mean, I'm giving you this for free, so I hope that sounds fair, right? So just type, yeah, baby, in the question box, and we'll be going along. Yeah, baby, yes, sir. Okay, Dr. Clark. All right. I love that kind of stuff. Okay, thank you so much for everybody who has responded so far. Now, today's topic is buy before midnight tonight. Late night infomercials and why they make millions. And if you'll notice up in the top left corner, that's not me. I'm in the bottom right corner next to my name, right? But up in the top left corner is a guy who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but I'm not going to tell you who he is just yet. You'll have to hang on just in a few minutes, but I'm sure he is familiar to many of you, and when you hear his name, you'll know exactly who it is. All right, my alternate title for this webinar today is Learn the strategies used by midnight marketers so you can avoid spending your money on a bunch of useless crap that you'll probably never use anyway. Okay. Or another alternate title might be, if you are in business, learn to use these strategies ethically so that you can sell more stuff. All right. Now, I'm going to show you just a few pictures here in the next couple of slides. This is actually me in the top left corner. That's me when I used to be cute. I was a little, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old there in our backyard of our house in Bedford, Massachusetts. And in the top middle, that's my dad and me in front of my dad's 57 Ford, and he wishes he still had that car, I'm sure, and that he also wishes he still had that hair that's on his head, because he doesn't anymore. All right. In the bottom is a picture of me with my 2 little brothers. Actually, I say little brothers, but they're both bigger than me right now. Taller and bigger, and so I just won't say anything more about them except for they were little brats, but I won't say anything more bad about them because they might come beat me up. All right, and up in the top right there is my parents' wedding picture. My dad was in the United States Air Force, and that picture was taken, well, at their wedding. Okay. Now, here's another few pictures here. I do a few different things in my life. I am an educator. I'm an author. I'm a public speaker. So here's just a few pictures of me with my students and at one of my book signings at the Texas Library Association. And in the bottom left corner there, I was doing a speech for the PGA Tour Association, so that was a lot of fun, and I just get to do a lot of cool stuff. And here's a few pictures that are actually from a few years ago, most of them, and yes, that's me with a ponytail in the middle and like kind of long hair there on the left. And I'm a songwriter, and I still do that once in a while, but not as much as I used to because I'm busy doing webinars and I'm out there helping businesses grow. But I do have a heart for artists and musicians and authors because I am one. So if you're one of those people, again, and if you don't really think that you're in a business because you're an artist, well, tell you what, you got to stop that negative thinking, okay? You need to remember that you are in a business. When you go to book a gig, you want to get the best pay possible for that gig. If you want to sell CDs, you want to convince your audience to go and buy your CDs. Or if you're doing a book signing, you want to convince people to buy books in the back of the room. And even though this particular topic today is about infomercials, I'm really kind of backhandedly using this as a way to just attract your attention so that I can then teach you some really cool strategies that you can use in your business. Another thing that I do is I have an alter ego, and that is this singing poet guy. And I love to go around to schools and libraries and things like that, and to help just, I bring my guitar and sing and help kids learn that reading is fun, you know, and reading poetry, reading stories can help them to have more fun in life, and then also to have an education which is going to help them get better in life. So that's what I talk about with older kids. All right, and then just very, very briefly, I have a whole bunch of college degrees and certifications, blah, 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 blah. All right, so enough about me. Now, let's learn something today. Picture this scene. The time is a little after midnight. You're sitting in your favorite chair. You have your remote control in hand, and you're relaxing after a hard day's work. Or maybe you've just returned from an evening out on the town with a group of coworkers or friends and been out kind of, you know, living it up a little bit, right? Now, you sit down in front of the TV. You grab your favorite snack, you turn on that boob tube, and you hope there's just something on there that is mind-numbing enough that is going to lull your brain to sleep. So you start to watch. You're eating your snack. You're having your favorite beverage. And then you begin drifting in and out of consciousness, becoming increasingly blinded to the line between fantasy, dreams, and reality. And suddenly, without warning, it happens. You are bombarded with infomercials. Yes, and you've all seen them. We've seen them late at night, you know, $39.95 plus shipping and handling, 30 days, risk-free trial, buy one, get one free. We've seen all these infomercials, and sometimes you can be a victim of them. But never fear, Dr. Clark is here. And no, that is not a real tattoo. That's a fake tattoo that I got when I was out on a cruise ship one time, because that's one of the other fun things I get to do in life is I get to speak on cruise ships and get to go on cruises for free, which is a heck of a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, and my wife likes that too. All right. Now, I have something to tell you. Understanding advertisers' use of rhetorical strategies and sales psychology techniques can help you to avoid falling prey to faulty or deceptive logic or faulty or deceptive arguments. Now, what are rhetorical strategies? What are sales psychology techniques? Well, I'm going to teach them to you. Now, you may be one of two different kinds of people watching this webinar. You may be just someone interested because you said, oh, this guy's going to talk about infomercials and how they make money, and this should be interesting, right? And you may not even have a business, okay? But more than likely, since this is called the Successful Business Webinar Series, you are probably here so that you can learn some strategies and techniques so that you can use them to persuade people to sign up for your services, to sign up for your coaching, to buy your products, to buy your books, to buy your music CDs, to do business with your company, to donate to your nonprofit organization, etc. So I'm going to be covering both of those areas. I'm going to be showing you what they are so you can avoid falling prey to them, but I'm also going to show you what they are so that you can use them. The only thing I'm going to ask, and I'm going to say this more than once tonight, is that you use these strategies and techniques ethically. Please do not scam little old ladies out of their retirement accounts or prey on young couples who are out searching for their first apartment and then needing to furnish it and buy a car, etc. Don't sell them things that they can't afford, okay? So please, if you can promise me to do that, I would really appreciate it. Now, let me tell you a real-life case study. And this was actually told to me by a guy I met on a cruise ship. And his name is Todd. That's his real name. I'm not using his last name just, because. But this is a real story. And he came and watched my presentation. I've actually done this same, not exactly the same, but a very similar presentation as a guest lecturer on a cruise ship. So he came and talked to me, and he said, let me tell you this story. And I thought I would share it with you. So what he did was he was watching TV late at night, and he saw on TV a commercial for these tapes. Okay, so this was a while ago. They were videotapes. Remember those big black videotapes, okay, before we had DVDs and Blu-rays and all that. And if you're close to my age, I'm in my early 50s here, so very early 50s. Let's just leave it at that, okay? And he, so you know what a VHS tape is, right? So he ordered a set of tapes, and the tapes were designed to improve his memory. And he said, wow, I really need that. So he called the 800 number, he gave him his credit card, and then he went to sleep. Well, a few days later, he hears this knock on the door, and there's this box, and there's the UPS truck, and he's got this box. And he says, I have a box for you, Mr. Todd, let's just call him. And his name is Todd, his first name. So he said, I have this box for you. And Todd says, well, why do I have a box? I didn't order anything. And the guy said, I don't know, it's addressed to you, just sign here and take the box. So he took the box, and then he brought it in the house, opened it up, and there's this box of memory tapes, how to memorize things, how to improve your memory and all that. Well, then he finally remembered, oh yeah, I remember I ordered these late at night a few nights ago, and so it kind of came back to him, right? But then he thought, oh, well, I guess I better use these sometime, but I'm not going to really watch them right now. So he put them up on a shelf in his office, in his home office. So then a year goes by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, and then he and his wife moved to a new city, and they bought a new house. So he's sitting there packing up all his stuff in his office, and he finds this box, and he says, what the heck is this box? He opens it up. Oh, there's those memory tapes that I was supposed to remember to watch that I forgot to watch, right? Okay. And then he says, okay, so I need to remember those, remember to watch them. So he packed them all up, sent them all off to the new house, and then lo and behold, a couple of years later, he's going through one of the boxes that he hadn't unpacked yet. Sure enough, what shows up but this box of memory tapes? So again, sometimes we will order stuff, we will do things that we didn't necessarily intend to do, or we thought we needed but we didn't really use, and all that. So I'm here to help save you from some of that stuff. Now, I do want to let you know, though, that there is a very, very secret society. And you've heard of the Illuminati, and you've heard of the New World Order, and you've heard of some of these other secret societies. But this society is so secret that there is no name for it. And, well, actually, there is a name, but if I told you the name, then I would have to kill you. And then I'd have to look up your address by your IP address, and there is a way to do that. I'm sure some hacker could figure that out. But don't worry, I'm not good enough on computers. I can sit here and talk on a webinar, but I'm no hacker. I'm not going to track you down. But seriously, there is a secret society, and it started with Socrates, and then it went to Plato, and then it went to Aristotle. and then it got passed down to a few other guys, and then it ended up with me, Dr. Lawrence J. Clark. So I now am the holder of the knowledge of the secret society that I can't tell you the name of. Now, this society has to do with the knowledge, the secret knowledge of rhetoric and sales psychology. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what is rhetoric? Well, according to Aristotle, rhetoric is the art of using the available means of persuasion. And there's a little picture of Aristotle there. If you're watching this on the webinar, sorry, if you're listening to this on the MP3 version, you don't get to see Aristotle's handsome face. But trust me, he was one handsome, rugged-looking dude. He kind of looks like Hemingway, but older. All right, like 2,000 years older. Okay. Now, my definition of sales psychology is, it is the art of using subtle techniques, strategies specifically using language that can cajole, or otherwise twist a person's thought processes in order to manipulate that person to perform an action. Now again, I don't want you to use it in this way. I don't want you to con or cajole or twist people's thoughts or anything like that, or manipulate people. There is a way to use this stuff ethically, and I'm going to be talking about that later. Now, why would somebody use these techniques? Well, to try to get somebody to buy something, to donate towards something, or to lust after something or someone, or to vote for someone that he or she might not otherwise have purchased, donated to, desired, or voted for prior to being exposed to that material. All right. Now, how did this all get started? I can't tell you the name of the secret society, but I can tell you how it got started. Okay. So we have Plato, who studied under Socrates. So I'm kind of skipping Socrates, but remember, Socrates is the one who had to drink hemlock, which was a poison, because they told him to stop teaching rhetoric. The people who were I'm serious about this. This is not a joke. The people who ran the country of Greece did not want Socrates teaching this stuff to the normal everyday people, because it was the way that they manipulated them. It was the way that they controlled the people. And if the everyday people knew about it, well, they wouldn't get controlled and manipulated anymore, right? So that's why I'm teaching it to you, so you can be saved from that. But you don't have to drink hemlock, and neither do I, thankfully. All right. But Plato was a student of Socrates, so he learned a lot of stuff from Socrates. And Plato also did a couple of cool things. He established a school of philosophy in Athens, which is still in Greece, but in ancient Athens. And he also wrote a book called The Republic, which I would highly recommend. Very interesting book. All right. Now, after Plato came Aristotle. And Aristotle studied, he was a really, really smart guy. He studied not only the philosophy and the rhetoric, but he also studied medicine and biology, and he's the one that actually invented all of the classifications of animals and insects and plants into all the different kingdoms and species and all that kind of stuff. He was also the tutor for Alexander the Great. I bet you didn't know that. But if you watch the movie, there was a recent movie made a few years ago, but fairly recent, last 10 years or so, about Alexander the Great. And there's a scene in there where Aristotle is there tutoring and standing there in a white robe, and Alexander the Great was kind of a, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years old in the movie. And there's a bunch of other kids his age standing around being tutored by this old guy in a white robe and a white beard. And I said to my wife, look, there's Aristotle. There's Aristotle. She said, yes, honey, I know. Okay. So imagine being married to somebody who's into this kind of stuff. She puts up with me, and I appreciate it and love her for that. All right. Now, Aristotle was a very curious guy. So again, he knew about biology and science and philosophy and other things, but he was really also very interested in rhetoric, which again is the art of using the available means of persuasion. And I'm going to show you 3 of those means of persuasion. And if you think, what does means mean? Well, it's like a method or a technique or a strategy. So the three basic strategies of persuading people, the 3 basic techniques, think of it that way. And what he liked to do is go down and watch people as they interacted and as they tried to persuade each other to vote for some certain cause or to buy a certain product or whatever. And he thought, I wonder why some people are more successful in doing this than others are. And what he did was he narrowed it down to 3 different techniques or strategies, again, what he called the means of persuasion. And I'm going to run through these very briefly, but they are ethos, pathos, and logos. These are the ancient Greek terms. Now, don't worry about the Greek terms. I'm not giving you a pop quiz, thankfully. Okay, this is just an informative webinar, but also meant to help you learn something, right? And to discover ways to not be manipulated and controlled, but also if you are an advertiser, if you have a business, if you want people to buy something from you or use your services or sign up for your yearly coaching program or buy your books or your CDs or give you an art gallery showing or come to your restaurant and eat or whatever, there are ways to use this stuff ethically. But you need to know both sides of it so you can know how to do that, right? Now, here's what they mean. Ethos is the perceived character or credibility or authority of the speaker. And when I say the speaker, I mean that means the person doing the persuading. So the salesperson or the person writing the speech or delivering the speech or the person writing the advertisement that's going to go in the newspaper or the magazine or on the website or whatever. So it's the character or credibility or authority of that person, or it might even be a company, right? Or a nonprofit organization. Maybe you don't even know who wrote it, but that company or that organization has good credibility or good character or good authority, okay, in their industry. Now, pathos is appealing to people's emotions, and then logos is appealing to people using logic or facts or statistics, stuff like that. So let's look at each one of these real quickly individually so you get a better sense. Now, ethos is one way to persuade people, and if the person that is doing the persuading, I'm calling this person the writer or the speaker, if that person is perceived by the person being persuaded, I call that person the listener, to be authoritative or of good character and or borrows credibility or good character from others, then that person will be believed. So here's a couple of examples. You might have a university professor. Let's say, some guy named Dr. Lawrence J. Clark, for example, right? Okay, so this person has earned a few graduate degrees and is employed by a university and has written books and articles and all that kind of stuff. So that's one example. Another example might be a judge, okay? So a judge has authority because that authority has been given to him or her by the state or the county or sometimes the country, right? And that judge has authority, and so much authority that he or she can put you in jail if you do what you're not supposed to do or if you don't do what you're supposed to do, right? Now, this person also has credibility and should be of good character, has a law degree, and okay, all attorney jokes and lawyer jokes aside, right, must follow some kind of code of conduct and rules in order to maintain status of being a judge. Now, another example would be someone who just gains it by celebrity status. Now, some people, like Michael Jordan, for example, gained celebrity status by being really good at doing something, such as playing basketball. And he worked his you-know-what off, practiced till late at night. If you ever want to read an interesting biography, read his biography. He actually got cut from the basketball team the first time he tried out. Seriously. But then he went back and he kept practicing and practicing and practicing, and he finally made it, because that's what he really wanted to do. But he got so good at it that companies would pay him lots of money to endorse their products. And that this happens with a lot of athletes, and sometimes with musical performers, race car drivers, etc. Now, some celebrities don't necessarily earn their celebrity status. They just kind of gain it by being a reality TV star or something, right? Not necessarily any acting ability or sports ability or anything like that, right? Okay. Now, another example, and this is the last one for this ethos, which is the credibility, authority, character, all that, is scientists and doctors, okay? So I have a few college degrees, but most of them are in the arts, the liberal arts, such as communications and music and literature and that kind of stuff. Doctor, I'm a doctor, but I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist type doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a doctor of philosophy. Okay, so I can't, cure you of anything. The only thing I can do is maybe fix your words. Okay, which is a valuable skill, but I can't cure you of any illnesses. So people like me have a high regard for people who are in the sciences and people who are engineers and doctors and people who have studied those kind of things, because we can't do it. So when they say don't drink caffeine or limit high cholesterol foods or don't smoke, well, we listen to them because we know that they have done the studying, they've done the research, and we know that they're probably right. Okay. Now, one last thing I just want to mention quickly is that ethos can sometimes go the other way around. Sometimes you can have a good ethos. For example, a famous guy, his name was Michael, not Michael Jordan, a different Michael, and he made people feel good. And people, when they heard his name, when they listened to his music, they loved to dance and feel good, and so good that Pepsi actually paid him $1 million for one 3-minute TV commercial. Well, unfortunately, a few things happened in his personal life, and his ethos kind of went downhill. Right? He was no longer considered someone of good character and all that. And whether the allegations were true or not, that's not for me to judge right now. But because of that, he lost a lot of endorsements and stuff. So he no longer had companies coming to him trying to get him to endorse their products. All right, so that's ethos. Now, pathos is appealing to people's emotions. And this is how you put some heart into your message. So, for example, you're trying to get people to feel something. So we've all seen these kind of advertisements in magazines and on late night infomercials, right? Where you'll see all these people, little kids that are starving, and then you'll see a truck pull up and some nice American people unloading a bunch of boxes of food, and then suddenly all the kids are smiling and happy, and then they tell you, look, you American person that spends $4 on a cup of latte, right? For that cost of 1 cup of coffee, you could feed one of these kids for a whole week, right? And so they're trying to make you feel guilty in a way, right? But the reason why they do it is because it works. And then you get your checkbook out, or you call in with your credit card number and you donate some money. You also have animal protection groups, okay? They do the same thing. There's one particular TV commercial that comes on, and they play this really sad song. I think it's by Sarah McLachlan, but don't quote me on that. I think that's who sings it, but it's just a really kind of sad, lilting melody, and then they show all these pictures of abused animals, and it's just so sad that you either will just get so sad that you turn it off because you can't stand it, or you'll say, okay, I'm going to give them some money. And then you can go to their website and you can click and put in your PayPal or your credit card info, and you can send them some money to help take care of the animals. And again, this is a legitimate use of these, to take care of poor children, to take starving children, to take care of abused animals. There's a good reason why they do this, okay? Now, if they're taking your life savings, that's maybe not a good thing. But, most Americans can afford a cost of a cup of coffee a day, or $36 a month, something like that. Okay. And so we do. We donate to these types of organizations and we help them. And the reason why we help them is because they let us know through these strategies, through Aristotle's means of persuasion, through ethos, pathos, and logos, and especially pathos, because the emotional one is very, very powerful. All right. So the idea here is that you want to get at people's feelings. And these ads, again, will make you either feel guilty or sad or worried or whatever, so that you will send them some money. Now, it doesn't always have to be a sad emotion, though. You can use happy emotions and attach happy, good feelings to your product or service, and that will make people want to buy them or donate to them or use your service or whatever. So, for example, we have Match.com and eHarmony and all these different dating websites. And what they do is they charge you a monthly fee in order to okay. My computer wants to do an update right in the middle of a webinar. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay. Not sure if you saw that or not, but you get those little windows that pop open and says, would you like to do an update? No, thank you. Not right now. I'm in the middle of a webinar. I'd appreciate if you just go away. So I just clicked the window away. If you're listening to this, you never even saw it anyway. But the point is that these dating services want to make you feel like you're either lonely and you need somebody, or they make you feel, a lot of times they show happy couples walking hand in hand in the beach and having nice dinner dates and blah, blah, blah. And so this particular ad says, this is from eHarmony, and it says, when you're ready to find the love of your life, get a free personality profile. Fill out your username here. And then, so they're actually not even trying to sell you something. But trust me, after you get your free personality profile, you're probably going to get an email from them afterwards saying, by the way, we found 72 eligible people that meet your criteria in your local area, and if you want to know who they are, send us some money. So that's probably how that works. I'm just guessing. But they're showing here a picture of some happy couple hugging and kissing, and people that are watching this ad say, oh, I wish I had somebody to hold me and love me and all that. So they're using this love and happiness emotion. Now, sometimes it might be some physical feeling, like being healthy and having good well-being. And so we all remember Tony Little and his, I think it was called the Gazelle, the little machine that you did. It was kind of like a low-price version of the Nordic track, right? And then who could forget Richard Simmons, right? Come on, ladies, let's go, right? And he'd get everybody dancing. And, okay, be honest. Nobody really likes to exercise, right? The idea of standing there and working on a treadmill for 45 minutes and walking or pumping, weights or whatever. It's not, you don't do it because that part is fun. You do it because you like the feeling you get afterwards. You like being energized. You like feeling your endorphin levels raised. You like looking buff and all that. So what they do is try to attach that feeling of health and well-being to their product that they're selling. In Tony Little's case, it was the Gazelle machine. In Richard Simmons' case, it was selling videotapes and DVDs or whatever of his exercise programs, right? All right. Now, the next one, the third one, and the last one of Aristotle's means of persuasion is called logos. And with logos, this is really important because some people could care less who you are, or if you're of good character, or if you have credentials and college degrees or titles, or if you have authority that's invested in you by the county or the state of whatever. They don't care. They also don't care about emotions. You're not going to make them feel guilty and it's not going to work. Or you're not going to make them feel happy and they're going to turn over their money. No. There are certain people in this world who need facts, logic, statistics, numbers in order to be convinced. And you know some people like this. For example, police detectives, right? If you remember on the old Dragnet series, they'd say, some hysterical woman would come in and just be trying to describe the crime scene and what just happened. And then Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., he would say, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And he didn't care about all the emotions. He didn't care if the person was rich or poor. He knew that rich people killed each other and poor people killed each other and stole from each other or whatever. And it didn't matter anything about that. Some of the victims and some of the perpetrators were lawyers and doctors. Some of them were plumbers and dishwashers. It didn't matter. He just wanted to know what the facts were. Just the facts, ma'am. Okay. Now, this also works with science and logic. Some people are more persuaded if you can show them a scientific formula, if you can show them some kind of logical A plus B equals C times D equals F or whatever. Obviously, I'm not I'm not a mathematician, okay, but E equals MC squared, and if you can show them that there's a scientific formula, a mathematical formula, or if there has been some kind of scientific experiment done and it's replicable, meaning it can be repeated under the same circumstances, the same chemicals, same amount of chemicals being mixed together at the same temperature in the same weather conditions and whatever is going to produce the same results every time. And if they can do that 2, 3, 5, 100 times, they say, oh, okay, we believe it. That is repeated. If it happens just once, then maybe there was some kind of freak thing that happened that didn't make it correct. So science and logic fall under this idea of logos. Statistics, if you can show survey results or statistics of certain percentages of this or that. If you remember the old ShamWow infomercials, okay? So I did promise you we're talking about infomercials. So we've talked about Richard Simmons and Tony Little, and okay, now we remember the ShamWow commercials where they had that little cloth that you could use instead of paper towels. And remember, it didn't just pick up a lot of water, right? It held 20 times its weight in liquid. Wow. Oh, ShamWow. Okay, buy one. Buy before midnight tonight, right? Okay, so one of the techniques they use is logos, using some specific number or and demonstrating it to you right there where you can actually watch it happen. Okay, so that's Aristotle, and those are Aristotle's 3 means of persuasion. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go on to something else, which is called sales psychology. And I want to give credit where credit is due here. This section is based not on a dead Greek guy named Aristotle, but is based on a real live living American guy named Robert Cialdini, Dr. Robert Cialdini, who is a professor, I believe professor emeritus now, at Arizona State University. And he wrote a book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. I would highly, highly recommend this book. I recently did a research project on people who are really good at doing persuasive webinars. And I interviewed 15 people. And out of those 15 people, I'll bet you 12 or 13 of them told me that this was one of the most influential, no pun intended, influential books that they had ever read. Okay, so this idea, the book is called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And these ideas really work, not just on webinars, but in one-to-one sales situations, if you're a public speaker, if you're doing some kind of sales presentation to a group, in a meeting, whatever. A lot of these different techniques work. And there are 6 basic methods, according to Cialdini. And they are reciprocation, commitment and consistency, social proof, trust and likability, authority, and scarcity. And we're going to go into each one just a little bit here. Now, reciprocation is the idea of when someone does something nice for us or gives us a gift, it creates in us, especially if we're a normal human being and not a psychopath or somebody who just feels a sense of entitlement and feels like the world owes them everything, right? But for most normal people, if somebody gives us something or does something nice for us, it creates a sense of obligation. And we feel like we should do something nice for that person in return. Hint, hint. If you are doing sales, if you are trying to get somebody to donate to your organization, or if you're trying to get somebody to buy something or give you a bigger tip, well, you do something nice for them. You know, if you're a waiter, you've probably had this happen. If you are a diner in a restaurant, right? And the waiter comes out and gives you some extra nice, fresh, warm bread with your salad, an extra bread, you know, beyond what you asked for. Or maybe gives you an extra scoop of ice cream on your dessert. You ask for just a piece of pie and your waiter brings you out a scoop of ice cream with it and something like that. And lo and behold, that waiter's probably going to get a bigger tip, right? You've noticed this when you get things junk mail, or excuse me, direct mail is the nice way to say it, but right, we get all this stuff in the mailbox, and a lot of times we get, especially from nonprofit organizations, they'll send us things like a little pen with their name on it, or maybe a little a bunch of stickers that you can use for address labels, and they already have your name and address printed on them. And you think, subconsciously now, you think, wow, they went to all that expense of giving me that pen or sending me all of those address labels. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I should donate to them. Gosh, you know, it must have cost them a lot of money to send me that. So I'm going to send them some money to help protect the puppies or the whales or the poor children in some other country or whatever, right? So the idea, though, is that it creates this sense of obligation. So on infomercials, this is how this works. Why is an infomercial not 30 seconds like all other commercials? Well, because what they do is they show you things. One is they want to have more time to show off their product, of course, but maybe they're showing you, maybe it's a cook showing you all these different recipes and all these different ways to use this certain kitchen appliance. And you say, wow, that's really cool. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. And they kind of divulge some inside information that chefs know about, right? And then by the end of the 30 minutes or the hour, you think, wow, that was, and again, you're not thinking this consciously, it's subconscious, but you're thinking, wow, that was really nice of that person to show me those recipes or to give me that extra inside information. And then you feel this obligation to either buy the product, or if you were going to buy it anyway, to maybe buy an extra one or buy some extra add-on that they're selling, maybe a knife set or something like that, right? Okay, so your next one is called commitment and consistency. And this concept says that people have a desire, human beings have a basic desire to remain consistent. So if we say we're going to do something, then we're going to do it. This is why the car dealer gets you to sign a piece of paper when you're sitting there negotiating the deal, and then they go and they say, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to go check with my manager on that. And then they go back and they come out with this piece of paper, and then it says, you know, here's the price, and if you agree to buy it today, then you can get it at this price, right? Well, when you sign that piece of paper, you are not legal. I'm giving you a car secret here, right, from car sales. You are not legally obligated to buy that car. You could just say, oh, well, my bank couldn't give me the money. Or, well, you know, I thought I was going to buy it, but then my wife said no, right? You can back out of it at that point. But most people, because of this idea of commitment and consistency, once they've signed on that paper that says, if you give it to me at this price, I agree to buy it today, most people are not going to go back on their word, because we've been taught, you know, you've probably heard this before, right? You know, someone is as good as their word, right? And a lot of us take that seriously. I was brought up like that. You were probably brought up like that. But sometimes people will exploit that desire to remain consistent in order to make us think that we have obligated ourselves to something. Now, another thing that kind of goes along with this is that we actually make decisions based on feelings. So Aristotle was right. Pathos is really powerful, right? That's the one where we were talking about the emotions and attaching emotions, either sadness or guilt or happiness or well-being to a product or service, right? Well, he was right. People do buy based on their emotions. However, then we have to go back and we have to justify it. We have to go home and explain it to our significant other, right? We have to go and explain it to our coworkers. We have to explain it to the bank, whatever. And so then we try to rationalize, we try to justify the decisions that we made or the actions that we took, even if we know that it was illogical or irrational, right? But we have to do that in order to remain consistent. Okay. Now, here's one way that infomercial hosts use this concept. They'll sit there and say things like, and here's an example. My wife loves to watch the jewelry channels. There's 3 or 4 different channels that show jewelry on TV. And they always say things like, oh, this is a beautiful set of earrings, am I right? Or, oh, look at the craftsmanship of this item. I mean, is this not a great value? Or wouldn't you like to own one of these necklaces and have it in your jewelry collection, or wear it at your next party or dinner out or whatever, right? And so when they say that, the answers to all of those questions are going to be yes. Wow, yes, you're right. It is beautiful. Yes, you're right. It is a great value. Oh, yes, you're right. I would like to wear that necklace to my next party, right? So what happens is then people will be much more likely to say yes in the end. and they will buy it. And it works. That's why they do it. All right. Now the next one is social proof. And this one is this is an old ad. If you're listening to this and not watching this, you can't see this ad. But there was an ad back in the 60s. I remember it from when I was a kid, and they would have all these different people from all walks of life with black eyes, and they wouldn't really have a black eye. They just kind of darken their eye with charcoal or something. But they would say things like, "I would rather fight than switch." Then what they're talking about switching is switching brands of cigarettes. So what they're saying there is that if people like us, or this is really important, subtle difference, but it's true, people who we want to be like, such as famous actors and actresses and sports celebrities and people like that, if they're doing something, or if they're buying certain products, or if they say they use certain products, then we want to use them too. Now, this goes hand in hand with something we're going to look at in a couple minutes, but the idea is that we want to be part of the club, right? We meaning people, and we want to, that's why when kids are in school and you can look at a certain school and you can see all the kids are wearing a certain brand of jeans, or they're all wearing a certain brand of tennis shoes, or maybe not all of them, but a good percentage of them, right? Because that's what's in vogue at that time. I remember when I was in school, Nikes hadn't been invented yet, I don't think. The Adidas was the famous one, and it had, I can't remember, 2 stripes or 3 stripes on the side. And my family, we couldn't afford the real Adidas, but my dad was in the military and we could shop at the BX on base, and thankfully they sold kind of an off-brand that looked kind of like Adidas and had similar looking stripes, right? So I remember getting those, and I remember being kind of disappointed because I couldn't afford the real one, but at least I got to be part of the club and at least look like I was wearing the ones that were popular at that time. Now, it doesn't always have to be a celebrity, though. It can be just regular people, right? So you've seen this on commercials, and especially on infomercials. They'll start interviewing people in the audience, and they'll say things like, wow, I wish they would have come out with this product 15 years ago, or wow, these prices are amazing, or wow, look at the quality, I just can't believe it. And that these people have been primed to say this stuff, right? But they're sitting there supposedly in the audience watching the same show that you are, and then they say that they like it and it's amazing and it's a great price and blah, blah, blah. And then so that makes you want to go along with them. And they try to pick different people from different ethnic backgrounds, different ages, different looks, some thin, some not so thin, some tall, some not so tall, etc., so that almost everybody in the audience, by the time that infomercial is over, somebody like them has said something good about that product or service, and that makes them want to buy. Now again, as I mentioned before, the social proof can extend to celebrity status, and this is similar in a way to the credibility, the ethos that we talked about earlier from Aristotle. But remember, right now we're talking about Cialdini's social proof. So there's similarities. It's not exactly the same, but it works a lot of times in the same way. So we've I found this picture of George Clooney advertising, I don't know what, looks like some kind of scotch or something, and please don't quote me because I can't tell, but it looks like Japanese or Chinese, some type of Eastern writing, Asian writing on that commercial, okay, on that advertisement. So again, if you want to be like George Clooney, if you want to be sophisticated and get all the Hollywood ladies, well, drink this particular brand of scotch and you'll have them crawling all over you, right? Okay, and remember Michael Jordan, of course, you know, people, whatever he said to buy, people would buy. And he made millions and millions of dollars endorsing all kinds of different things, especially basketball shoes, right? And then there's Suzanne Summers with her Thigh Master. Who can forget those commercials with where she's sitting there and, you know, 7 or 8 other women, and they're all sitting there flexing their thigh masters, and you know that goes into a whole nother form of persuasion that we're not dealing with right now. But the idea is that she's a famous person and she has a great body and she looks good, and so if you get one of these machines, then you can be a hot chick just like Suzanne Summers. All right. Now, another one is called trust and likability. And if you remember my very, very opening slide, you'll remember the picture of the guy that was on there. And I told you would remember who he was, just in case you didn't remember his name. That was Billy Mays, okay? And God rest his soul, he did pass away a couple of years ago. But Billy Mays was great at being kind of just like the guy next door, right? This is the idea of trust and likability. He's your friend. He's your buddy. He's the guy you hang out with on Saturday mornings and go sit around in his garage and you help each other work on your cars, or he comes over and helps you fix something, you know, on your back porch or whatever. So he's going to sell you all kinds of products and just tell you how great they are, and you're going to believe him because you trust him. You like him. He's your buddy, right? And notice he was always dressed in just kind of normal everyday clothes. He didn't wear a suit and a tie and all that. He was just your average everyday guy. And his name was Billy. Okay, I don't even know if that was his real name, but that was the name he used, and Billy, right? So another thing, just kind of, let me just throw this in here, is that familiarity. You've heard the saying, familiarity breeds contempt. Okay, not necessarily. Familiarity can create the illusion that we actually know the person. That's why every TV channel, ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, whatever, they all have the same news announcers on at certain times a day. Because if people watch the news at noon or watch the news at 6 o'clock or watch the news at 10 o'clock, they know they're going to see that person giving them the news. And they start to believe them. They trust them. They like them. They actually, sometimes they have to hire bodyguards because people feel like they're their friends and they want to come talk to them, and they bother them in restaurants and stuff, right? And unfortunately, sometimes stalk them as well, right? But the idea is that when we see that same person, this works in radio as well. When you hear that same radio show every day on your way home from work, you start to trust that person. You start to like that person, and because you hear them over and over again. Now, why am I showing you this same set of slides that I showed you earlier in the webinar? Well, if you're not watching this, if you're listening to the recording on an MP3 file, the pictures that I'm showing are the pictures of me when I was a little kid, and me with my 2 brothers, and with my dad in front of our old car, and then a picture of my parents at their wedding, my dad in this military uniform, right? So the reason why I showed you that stuff in the beginning is so that you would maybe identify with some of these things, okay? I'm sharing this little secret here. And this is why advertisers will do this. Infomercial people, producers will do it. Webinar hosts will do it. TV channels will do it, okay? News channels. So the idea is that you've not only heard my voice, you've heard about some of my credentials, blah, blah, blah. Some people care about that. Some people don't. College degrees and all that, whatever, right? But you've seen pictures of me as a kid. You've seen pictures of my family. You've seen pictures of us, out in front of the old car and sitting in the backyard and all that. My dad in his military uniform. So what that does is subconsciously it gives you a feeling of trust, and it gives you a feeling that you like me and that you know me. Okay. Now, some of you on this webinar do know me, okay, because I know that some of you listen to my webinars every week, and so you do know me, and you met me in person. Some of you have, and you like me, and you trust me, and that's why you watch my webinars. But for those of you who have never been on one of my webinars, maybe you saw it advertised on LinkedIn or Twitter or something, you have no clue who I am in the world. But now you know a little bit about me, right? And this is why sometimes if you watch on the infomercials or on the jewelry channel, I've sat and watched it, even though I hate watching the jewelry channel, just as research projects. I've sat there with my wife and watched it, and the jewelry host will even start talking about some story about their mother or some story about their Aunt Ethel or something, and I'm thinking, why in the world are they going on and on about that? Aren't they supposed to be selling jewelry? Well, then when I started studying this kind of stuff, I realized, oh, they're actually doing that on purpose. There's a guy named Joe Vitale who wrote a book called Buying Trances. Buying Trances. And I'm not telling you to put people in a trance and hypnotize them or anything, but what I am saying is the gist of his book is that if you tell stories while you are selling something, people will listen to the stories, they'll forget they're being sold to, and it's almost like putting them in a trance. And then they will often do what you say, right? If you combine it with some of these other techniques and strategies. That's why, number one, I'm telling you this stuff so that you know what it is, so you don't fall victim to it, right? But on the other hand, if you use it ethically to sell people things that they need, that is going to help them have a better life at a decent price that is affordable for them, then you can do it ethically, and you can help people to make that buying decision without forcing them to do it, okay? All right, now let me show you this one bonus here. I call it the rule of 7, and I didn't name it. This is a marketing term used by advertisers. And the idea is, well, let me just ask you a question. Why do you think that we see the same infomercials repeated over and over again? Well, one of the answers could be that trust and likability factor, right? Because we see them and we see the infomercial on a certain number of times, and we figure, well, if the commercial's still running, if the infomercial is still running, and I saw it 3 months ago, and I saw it 4 months ago, and I saw it 6 months ago, well, it must be a legitimate company if they keep advertising on TV, right? And you start to watch the people on there, and you've seen their faces, and you kind of get to know them a little bit, and you start to like them even subconsciously, right? But the answer specifically in marketing terms is that a potential customer needs to see or hear an advertisement or a logo, a company logo, or a product, or hear about a service at least 7 times before they actually decide to purchase that product or service. So I'm going to repeat this because this is really important. It's the rule of 7. A potential customer must see or hear an advertisement an average of 7 times before deciding to purchase the product or service. Now, this rule of 7 was made up a long time ago. And I would say that now, with the advent of the internet and cell phones and all these other ways that we are distracted and bombarded with information, I would say that this number is probably even higher now. but I would say at least 7 times. So that's why if you buy an ad in the newspaper, for example, you don't buy just one, you buy it every Sunday for several weeks in a row, right? Or if you buy it in a monthly magazine, you buy that ad several times. Or if you buy a TV spot, radio spot, you do not just buy one, you buy several, because one, people listen or watch at different times of the day, but also you want people to see it more than once. Actually, you want them to see it at least 7 times or more, because that's when they're going to start feeling like your company is legitimate, that they like you, they trust you, they think your product is good. And sometimes it's even subconscious. They don't even know why. They just subconsciously think, oh, I've heard of them before. Oh, yeah, they have good quality. But they don't even know why. It's because they've just seen the ad so many times that it's kind of drilled in their head. Have you ever heard a song on the radio and the first time you heard it, it's like, yeah, I'm not really thrilled with that song. But then you hear it a couple more times, then you hear it a couple more times. Pretty soon you're singing along with it. Next thing you know, a couple weeks later, wow, I love that song. That's the best song I've ever heard. Well, then a couple of weeks later, it's like, stop playing that stupid song. It's stuck in my head, right? But in the meantime, you went and you bought the CD, or you downloaded the song to iTunes or something, right? Don't tell me you pirated the music, because I'm a songwriter and I don't want to hear about that. All right, let's move on. Authority is the next of Cialdini's psychological triggers. This, again, is closely related to Aristotle's idea of using ethos, but it's a little deeper. It goes a little deeper psychologically, in that as human beings, we have a deep-rooted sense of obligation, of duty, of a need to obey authority figures. And it starts out when we're little kids. And if we don't do what our parents tell us, we get a spanking, or we get put in the corner, or we get sent to our room with no dessert or whatever. Then we get to school, and then our teachers do the same thing. You know, we get put in the corner. We don't get to go to recess. We get put in detention, sent to the principal's office, whatever. Then when we grow up, well, grown-ups have their own form of detention. It's called jail. Right? And so we have the police telling us what to do. And if we don't obey them, we pay a fine, or we have to actually spend time in jail. Religious leaders, government officials, all of these people tell us what to do, and we have been trained since we were very, very young to say yes to them. Now, how do people on infomercials use this concept of authority? Well, one way is you might have an actor dressed as a doctor. And we all know we kind of have this willing suspension of disbelief, is what we call it in literary terms. But the idea is we're watching a TV show, we're watching a movie, and we know that it's Mel Gibson or Nicolas Cage or, you know, some other famous actress, whatever. But the idea is we know that it's just an actor or an actress, right? But for those 2 hours of that movie, we go sit in the movie theater, or we turn on Netflix or TV, and we willingly suspend our disbelief, meaning we say, okay, for 2 hours, I'm going to pretend that that person is the chief of police of this small town in the middle of nowhere. Or I'm going to pretend that this person is an Olympic athlete, or this person is a spy, or this person, whatever, right? Same thing goes with TV commercials and infomercials. So on the infomercial, we might have someone dressed in a white lab coat, wearing a stethoscope around his or her neck, glasses down on the nose, and then spouting off all these survey results and talking about a product, maybe it's a nutritional product, and saying how medical experts agree that this formula will help people lose weight and will help them increase their metabolism and blah, blah, blah. And just the fact that the person is dressed like a doctor saying these statistics, right? So that would go, logos would be the statistics, Aristotle's version, and then also the ethos and authority, a combination of Aristotle and Cialdini would be the medical experts. But we have this person saying it, so we tend to agree, right? And we say, oh, subconsciously again, we know the person's an actor, but they're saying it with such authority that, and they're dressed like the doctor, and so we tend to believe them. Another thing an infomercial announcer might say towards the end of the infomercial, you might hear something like, run to the phone right now and dial this number. Act now before it's too late. Call 1-800-555, blah, 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 right? Well, notice they don't say, well, if you wouldn't mind, we know that we've told you all about our product for the last 30 minutes, and you know, if it's something that you're really interested in, you know, could you pretty please go and pick up your phone and if you wouldn't mind dialing this phone number and please ordering, we'd really appreciate it because we need to move this stock out of the warehouse. And no. They play on this idea of authority. Remember, we are trained almost since birth to agree, to obey, to have this sense of obligation to do what authority figures tell us. So they say, instead of pretty please, if you wouldn't mind, they say, run to the phone right now, dial this number, act now, blah, blah, right? Call 1-800. And they say it in that authoritative voice. So that is a psychological trigger for us as consumers, and we hear them. And even on the internet, an internet marketer might have a video and say, click here, register, look at the, fill in your email in the slot below this video. Or it might just say it. They might not say it out loud. It might just say the words, click here, and then a big red arrow pointing to the little box where you put in your email address, right? So that's the idea of using authority. All right, another one which is really, really effective is called scarcity and urgency. So the idea here is that if something is either unavailable or in short supply, or it seems to be unavailable or in short supply, or that it's only available for a limited time, then we as consumers want it. We want what we can't get, or we want what there is only a short number of. You know, this happens all the time. They come out with a certain limited number of brand new Chevrolet Camaros, for example. They'll come out with, you know, I don't know how many they make. Let's say, I'll just guess, I don't know, 30,000 Camaros in 1 year. But they'll have 100 that are the limited edition, right, that have some race car signatures name on it and some special leather seats, or, you know, whatever they have on them that makes them the limited edition, right? They do it with computer games. They do it with computers, with iPhones, with all kinds of stuff, right? If you remember back, every Christmas season, there's some toy that all the kids want, but there's a short supply. I remember when my kids were little, it was something called Tickle Me Elmo, all right? And parents would stand in line for hours and sometimes overnight just so that they could get this stupid Tickle Me Elmo toy for their kids. And there were moms, there were videos of moms in stores beating each other over the head so they could get with their purses so they could go and get the Tickle Me Elmo toy, because they knew in that store they were only going to have 30 of them or 50 of them. And if they didn't get it, their kid was going to cry. So they were going to go do it. So again, on infomercials, they'll say things like, there's only 12 items left in stock, or the sale ends soon, or buy before midnight. Here's the title of my webinar here, right? Buy before midnight, because after that, either it's going to go away, we're not going to sell anymore, or the price is going to double, or whatever. So that's scarcity and urgency. And you see it not only in infomercials, you see it sometimes on internet marketing, for example. This one here says, closing it down, urgent. Watch this entire video now and learn about how you can get this training and blah, 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 blah. Because they're going to close it down. Well, what are they closing down? Well, they're just going to close down access to the website. Now, some people will do this, and you can do this. I've done it before myself. Said, hey, if you want to buy this this online course that I'm selling, if you get it by Sunday night at midnight, if I do my webinar on a Tuesday, for example, I'll give people a few days to think about it. But I'll say, if you get it before Sunday at midnight, you either get it for a special price, you might save some money, or you might get an extra bonus or something. Or what some people do is they just say, I'm going to stop selling it at midnight. And they'll sell however many they sell up till Sunday at midnight, and then they just stop selling it. And then they might bring it out again 6 months later or a year later, an upgraded version of it or something. But here's the thing, don't lie about that. If you say you're going to close it down and it's not going to be available till Sunday at midnight, and then people go to your website on Tuesday afternoon and it's still available at the same price, well, then they're never going to believe you again, right? So again, you want to do this ethically, but you can create a sense of urgency and scarcity when you're doing it. All right. Now, here's a little bonus technique I want to give you. This is called false choice. Now, the idea here, and this also comes from infomercials. If you remember these rotisserie ovens, I guess they still sell them, but I remember watching these because I actually wanted to get one. I never did buy one, but I remember looking at them and saying, those things are pretty cool. I think I'd like to get one. But they don't say, at the end, they don't say, do you want to buy one? What they say is, which one do you want? So that's a hugely different question. It may not seem that different, but listen again. Do you want to buy one of these? Or which one of these would you like to buy? Or as they say in their ad here, if you're watching the webinar, it says, which oven is right for you? Okay, not do you want to buy one or not? They're not even giving you that choice. They're just assuming that you are going to buy one. It's just which one are you going to buy? Okay. So if you're doing a sales deal, for example, and you're trying to sell some products or a service, you just assume that people want, of course they want to buy it. It's the best product and it's the highest quality and it's the best price but they just have a choice of 3 different ones. Do you want to buy under the 1 payment plan or the 3 payment plan or the 12 payment plan? Or do you want the blue one, the yellow one, or the red one? Or do you want the one that has this option, the one that has these 2 options, or the one that has the other 3 extra options, right? So again, if you're doing the selling, don't ask people do they want to buy or not, but you just give them a choice of which one do they want. Now again, please use this information ethically. Don't sell something to somebody that they can't afford or that they can't use, or that is otherwise unethical. All right. Okay. Now another technique is called equivocation. And this idea is you use one or both meanings of a word, but then you deliberately confuse the two in the audience's mind. So, for example, when they say buy one, get one free, are you really getting one free? Okay. Or if you're getting a free bonus, such as on this picture, it's a free injector with, it's like a turkey flavor injector, or put it into your pork roast or whatever. It's a flavor injector where you put some broth and flavoring. It's like a hypodermic needle, basically a giant one, and you squeeze it into the meat, and then it gives it some flavor. They're pretty cool, right? As a cook and a chef, I love that kind of stuff. I go for gadgets like that. But they're saying that you get a free one with each set of knives. Well, no. If you just call them up and say, yeah, I really don't want the knives, but I just want the free injector, or you call them up and you say, I don't want the 25-piece knife set that I have to pay for. I just want the free 25-piece knife set, because they're saying if you buy one, get one free. No, they're not going to give you the free one unless you actually buy one. So you're not really getting it for free. You just divide that cost in two, and that's what you're paying for. All right. So it's called equivocation again. You're confusing people by using a term like free, but it's not really free. Okay. However, I wouldn't consider this one really unethical, because it's used so often that people know this, right? So people know they can't go to the grocery store, buy a jar of spaghetti sauce, and if it says get 4 ounces free, they know that they can't walk up to the cash register and say, and hold out their hands and say, I don't really want the whole jar, but could I just please have my free 4 ounces of spaghetti sauce? Can you just pour it in my hand here? People know that, right? So even though it's equivocation, even though it's confusing, it's using the word free when it's not really free, we know that as customers, okay? So we allow a little bit of that to go on in this game of advertising and marketing, right? Okay. Now, another one, though, is called amphiboly. And again, don't worry about these terms, but just remember the idea of it. And what this means is you're using an ambiguous sentence structure or ambiguous grammar, meaning unclear grammar or sentence structure, to mislead people, right? Okay, so you've seen this all the time. You go look at laundry detergent. I don't know why, but laundry detergent, for example, is always new and improved. It's new or improved, or it's improved or new, or it's new and improved. I don't know how many times they can improve Tide detergent, or don't ask me what the other brands are, but I just picked that one off the top. So nothing against Tide, but I don't know how many ways that they can improve a certain kind of laundry detergent over the years, right? I mean, there's so many chemicals and extra smell formulas they can put in, whatever. But it always says new and improved. Well, my question is, well, what's new and what is improved? Well, they never tell you, okay? They don't tell you. They just say it's new and improved. And you look at it and you see this little thing, it says new and improved. And then you see the other one that doesn't say new and improved. And then you think, oh, well, I better get the new one. I better get the improved one. And so you pick that one up. Again, it's kind of subconscious. Now, here's another bonus technique here. And then this is a way to try to sell people stuff, especially if you're in the space of trying to help people with business opportunities, or selling them courses or seminars or tapes or DVDs or webinars or online courses, whatever, any books, anything that has to do with making money, right? Well, people will fall for this all the time. Again, they use it because it works. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you that it's done. And people will say, oh yeah, you can make easy money this way. You just push the buttons and it's an easy blueprint, an easy to follow formula, and you're going to make gazillions of dollars overnight, right? Make $12,000 in 1 hour, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, whenever you hear stuff like that, just run the other direction, okay? And if you're watching the webinar right now, you'll see there's a guy that was very famous at doing this kind of stuff, Don Lapre. Unfortunately, it caught up with him, and he was about to get in trouble for it and ended up taking his own life, actually, rather than face the music. But he went for years and years and years and sold people on all these different ways to make easy money. And a lot of it, unfortunately, according to the FBI or whoever investigates that stuff, wasn't quite as easy as he claimed it was, and so he got in trouble for that. Now, another bonus technique is that you're not just going to make ridiculous or unbelievable amounts of money, but you're going to save ridiculous or unbelievable amounts of money. And so, for example, you'll see it on an infomercial, and you'll see this chef knife set, and they'll say it's a $300 value, and you're going to get it for only $50 or $60, right? Well, if it's a $300 value, do you think they're really going to sell that to you for $60? No, it's a $60 knife set, okay? So don't be surprised when you get it home and you've spent $30 on shipping and handling also. But I don't know this particular knife set how much the shipping and handling was, but it's always plus shipping and handling, which is always an extra cost, much more than what they charge you, what they actually charge to ship it, or what they're charged by the post office to ship it, or UPS or whatever. But don't be surprised when you get it home and the handles are made out of plastic, or the metal isn't quite as thick as you thought it would be, or whatever. Trust me, if you're paying $60 for a knife set, you're not getting a $300 knife set. You're getting a $60 knife set. Okay. Now, why should we care about all this stuff anyway? Well, I've tried to throw this in all along the way, and I hope you've been listening and hearing about it. But because it happens to you, okay? And you, and you, and you, and you, right? It's happening to you every single day. So especially late at night, when you're in that most vulnerable state, you're hungry, you're tired, you're lonely, your eyes are drooping, you're half asleep, you're watching TV, or maybe you're surfing the internet on your lunch hour, or late at night at the same, under the same circumstances, trying to get to sleep. And then somebody's going to ask you to buy something. And it's going to seem like an unbelievable deal. Or they're going to tell you that you're going to buy one and you're going to get one free. Or they're going to tell you that everybody else like you is buying one. Or they're going to attach an emotion to buying the product or service. Or they're going to try to convince you with some scientific facts or some kind of credibility, some celebrity endorsement, whatever. All these different techniques that I've showed you, you're going to be asked to buy something using those techniques. But now you will understand that they are using any one or probably a combination of these strategies of ethos, pathos, and logos, as well as all those sales psychology strategies such as commitment and consistency and reciprocation and authority and all of those other ones. And if you understand that, maybe you just might not fall for it, and you won't buy that product or service, and it will help save you money, right? However, if you are on the selling end and you understand these techniques and strategies, then you can use them, but please use them ethically, and it can help you actually make more money. So you can either save money or make money by understanding this information. So that's pretty much what I had to tell you about today. And I do want to just leave you with this, is that remember that I am here to help you. We are here to help you, my wife, lovely wife, Kristen, and I, at thecommunicationleader.com. And we, again, are your premier resource for promoting your products and services, for generating leads, and increasing your profits by using powerful, profitable, and ethical persuasive communication strategies. So if you are in need, you or your company or your organization, your trade association, you have a conference coming up, you have a banquet coming up, you just need some training for your sales team, you need some public speaking training, anything like that, we will do live and online training, seminars. We'll come do a keynote speech for you. We also can do group and individual coaching and consulting. And what that means is you can sign up for a certain number of hours or a length of time over certain periods, say 60, 90 days, 6 months, a year. You'll get a certain number of phone calls or emails. We will contact back and forth. You can send us your documents, send us copies of your videos. You can call us, ask us questions, and that's what it means by coaching and consulting, right? Where we will help you and your business to grow using the knowledge that we have of all the things that we've talked about today, plus many more things. If you go to our website, thecommunicationleader.com, you'll see a host of other ways that we can help you as well. So as promised, my contact info is Lawrence, and that's Lawrence with a W, at thecommunicationleader.com. Lawrence at thecommunicationleader, all one word, .com. Or you can call us at 713-376-2494. 713-376-2494. And that is my actual email address and phone number. I answer the phone myself. I don't have layers of a bunch of assistants and gatekeepers to keep you away from me. I answer all my own email. If I don't answer the phone right away, I will call you back because I'm often in meetings, and I do teach in a university at North American University in Houston, Texas. And so sometimes I'm in class, right? So we have other things to do. We might be on the phone with another coaching client or out doing a training, traveling. We travel all over the country, Canada, Europe, wherever you need us to go, we will go there and train and do stuff for you. So that's how you can get a hold of us, and I hope you learned something today and enjoyed the training. So thank you very much for attending. God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye now.